I was going to wait until tomorrow to do this, but no time like the present, right? So I'm adding audio to my blog posts, and I'm also adding them as companions to my podcast High Resolution Life as well, because people are busy, people have crazy schedules, but I want to keep up with regular posting and regular content. This is kind of an experiment, so we'll see how good the quality is and if I'm happy with it, and if it's kind of a dud, sorry, I'm experimenting. And I can't guarantee that there isn't going to be some background noise here and there because I live in the wonderful metropolis of Altoona, Pennsylvania. I don't live in the middle of nowhere with a soundproof room. So if you want that to happen, if you have complaints about the audio, become one of my subscribers on Substack and throw a couple bucks my way and I'll put it in the soundproof for the people that really can't handle noises fund. But without further ado, let's go through recognizing Frieren. Learning first, teaching later. How an elf mage reminded me of what it means to teach what you love. So this month, my new obsession has become the wonderfully crafted anime named Frieren, thanks to my boyfriend helping me expand my anime tastes and exposure. I had started this anime skeptical. It was high fantasy genre, not a genre that I've historically always become obsessed with or interested in. If you're not into anime, don't worry. This entire post won't center around anime, but rather on a theme in the anime. So stick with me if you outgrew anime at the age of 8. The rest of us are undiagnosed but pretty sure and most likely have abysmal health insurance, so we just bask in our hyper-focuses we never quite outgrew. I just wanted to have some background noise on, and I assumed I would just fall asleep during the first episode, but I paid attention for 2 minutes. Then I got sucked in. I was in it. I was in for it with this anime because of the main character, Frieren, which, fun fact, means frozen in German. So Frieren is an elf in this high fantasy genre anime, and there are other Tolkien adjacent creatures in this anime, such as dwarves, I relate to very on a deep level, mages, magicians but fancy, monsters, probably my neighbors, demons, also my neighbors, and of course, dragons. I became invested in the anime after my boyfriend was poking fun at a number of similarities the main character and I seem to share. She's not always the best in social situations. She's rather blunt, off in her own little world, mostly concerned about collecting more grimoires. They're little magic books, perfecting her mage abilities, and most definitely unconcerned with building friendships, and even more unconcerned with taking on students or apprentices. Unexpected similarities. The story arc that also drew me in, besides the fact that she wasn't typical cutesy anime girl looking for a lover boy, was her story arc as a reluctant teacher coach, or whatever the equivalent would be in this anime fantasy land. If you know anything about me, you know I'm also a teacher and a coach. But what you may not know was that it wasn't something I originally wanted to do. This certainly reminded me of my early years of my teaching journey. Heiter, who was a priest that she had went on a journey with, they were adventuring with another character who was a hero. His name was Himmel, means heaven in German, by the way. And there was also a dwarf with them, whose name escapes me at the moment. Damn, I don't remember. But so they went journeying together, and Heiter's old, because elves live a long time in the Tolkien universe and also in the same realm that the Frieren high fantasy is set in as well. And elves live forever, just like the elves that are also in the Tolkien universe. So this reminded me, but she didn't want to take this apprentice on for Heiter, but she just kind of felt emotionally obligated to do so. So this reminded me of the early years of my teaching journey, because I was originally moved from the musical arts program to music education after my piano performance audition for Penn State School of Music. Quite frankly, it didn't seem like I could get it together to perform in front of people, but I didn't like that shift because I also had little patience for teaching. So Frieren didn't want to take this young girl that Heiter had taken in to take care of after she was orphaned in a war, Highter had taken in this little girl named Fern, and she had mage abilities, and he wanted Frieren to take this girl on as her apprentice and teach her mage abilities. But Frieren didn't want to do that. And I also didn't like that shift. I didn't want to go into teaching. I didn't want to have music students because I also had little patience for teaching. Watching the stress that teachers deal with, trying to inspire less than enthusiastic students to learn, did not look like a way I wanted to live my life. And nor did I really think I had it in me to do that. Spoiler alert, my profession chose me rather than me choosing my profession. Something else I enjoyed about the way the character Frieren was written was that she was obsessed with learning new magic spells from the grimoires, to the point that she would get stuck in mimics, trick treasure boxes, looking for rare grimoires. There's like a 10% chance it could be real, 90% chance it's just a mimic, a trick treasure box that has the grimoires. So basically getting herself in precarious situations just to learn more. I relate to this so hard. Anyone who is friends with me, follows my social media, or takes a glance at any of my blog posts knows my obsession for certain niche topics. And it will drive anyone who is in regular communication with me to the edge of their sanity. You might want to be friends with me. Yeah, don't do it. Rethink that. It's a lot. For example, there is no one besides me, rather than perhaps anthropologists and ancient historians who know more about the Yamnaya and corded ware peoples of ancient times. Two of my friends reading this blog probably cackled upon reading that phrase because they remember that very distinct week in August of 2024 that I really got on this kick. Sorry guys, I'm still sorry. It will happen again. Completely impractical and seemingly useless knowledge, but lit up my life for the entire month of August in 2024. Guess what? No one else cared. My friends tolerated just because they love me. Frieren would be proud of me, as she collected grimoires that were forgeries of her original teacher's grimoires. Completely impractical. And her party mates are all like, why are you doing this? Why are you wasting time on that? Completely impractical, but she does it and cleans an entire harbor for a village in order to get it. Why? It's just a thing she likes to do. But first, learning. But that obsessive love of learning reminded me that most teachers are often reluctant ones, and often love learning first, especially professors. My first love, like Frieren, is learning, not teaching. Teachers are often first learners, the nerds, the geeks, the kids you stuffed in lockers. I always started loving what I was doing and studying, and simply being obsessed with it. Music, language, martial arts, I just wanted to be good at the things I fell in love with and have adept skill at something that fascinated me. Now, here I am, teaching the three things I love. Piano and voice, English, biblical Hebrew languages, jiu-jitsu, and sometimes my decent okayness at judo. I'm still working on that. But listen, teaching these subjects, coaching them, that was never the goal. I was obsessed and passionate about them. I didn't want to teach them, nor ever had aspirations to teach. However, if you love something and it has transformed you, you owe a debt to it. The debt we pay to learning is teaching. It's a necessary next step if something you loved learning about has consumed you. For us reluctant teachers, this teaching revitalizes us and forces us to see our subject we thought we knew everything about in a different light as we share it with others. Additionally, I didn't expect that my students would have taught me things in return. Teaching has changed my life much in the same way it did for Frieren, when she reluctantly decided to take on Fern as her apprentice. The way the character Frieren is written reminds me of myself, in that the connection and rewards that come from seeing students grow and being able to accomplish something that they weren't able to previously do is rewarding and fulfilling. But it wasn't the original goal. So here's an honest confession. Sometimes I felt guilty that I couldn't say I always dreamed of being a teacher and I have this pure altruistic streak within me. Then I saw the way Frieren was written, and the character's approach to reluctant teaching resonated with me, along with how her apprentice began to change her in subtle ways. The appreciation and mutual support I've received from my students has brought a lot of good things into my life. I've learned about many different cultures, types of music, genres my piano kids have wanted to learn, genres of music. The adventures teaching has taken me on was beyond what I ever thought possible. For example, I went to Shanghai and I went to Beijing in China. I got to see the Great Wall of China. It was wild. My students have opened my mind, challenged what I thought was true, and surprised me with adorable cards and gifts on days where I felt completely drained. For example, it's a cute little, if you're looking at the video, you can see a cute little card that one of my students surprised me with. Welcome, piano teacher. Just little hearts. I still have it right by my teaching station where I teach remotely. And if it weren't for my students, I wouldn't have started jiu-jitsu and judo, actually. If I think about it fully, I'd almost say my students have changed my life drastically with the things that they've shared with me. Excuse me. Frieren was also inspired to view life in a different light by her student Fern in the anime, much like my students did with me. Frieren becomes a bit more open to helping others and not being so distant, and goes on yet another adventure she was not expecting. While working with Fern, Frieren starts having a healthier routine, and oh boy, what my boyfriend lovingly teases me about, how my students keep me structured as well. What I wouldn't give to act like I could live for 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years and sleep until 1 p.m., neglect all social structures and connections to deep dive into another useless niche topic. But don't worry, excuse me, but don't worry, students, you are loved. If you have been one of my students and you're reading this, rest assured, I pushed myself beyond my comfort zone and beyond what I thought I was capable of to help you achieve your goals. What I wasn't expecting, however, which I think Frieren would also admit to, after 300 years of stuffing it down in a tiny little box and ignoring it or acting like she didn't feel anything at all, was that my students would be teaching me as well. So, one last note of love from a reluctant teacher. Sometimes, you all still drive me nuts. As I'm sure I also drive you nuts with my nagging and obsessive perfectionism, but it's all worth it for the adventure of learning, making memories and connections, and expanding your understanding in the end, wherever that journey may take you. Thanks for listening, and subscribe for free to receive my new posts and support my work at annettemargaret.substack.com. Type in your email and it'll come right to your email box, or you can also check out my website, annettemargaret.com. And also you can follow me on my socials, Annette Margaret on Instagram, and look for Annette Margaret Music and Media on Facebook as well. So thanks for listening. Let me know what you think.